Hey there, Mr. D here is going to talk to you a little bit about Vivaldi and his masterwork, The Four Seasons. Antonio Vivaldi is a genius and truly stands out as the most creative among the host of composers who brought the Italian Baroque style to its zenith. His works have the perfection of a 17th century Italian opera and concerto formats. Vivaldi's The Four Seasons is a set of four concertos. The generalized view suggests concertos as a conversation between a solo instrument or multiple solo instruments and a wider ensemble. Vivaldi uses the violin as the sole instrument in the Four Seasons. The orchestra at the conservatory, where he was employed, maintained a high standard under his direction. They had weekly concerts being held featuring the creme de la creme of students. During this 40-year tenure, so he worked for 40 years here, he crafted over 450 concertos. Let me that sink for a moment. 450 concertos. The majority of these solo concerti were crafted for the violin, over 220. So a little bit less than half. But that wasn't very surprising given his strong background for the violin. So he was appointed as the conservatoire director, and there, with him being a skilled violinist, he really thrived in that environment. Now, the Four Seasons is a timeless masterpiece. They were introduced first in 1725. Apart from having inspiration for the seasons, the concertos were influenced by a set of four sonnets crafted about summer, winter, autumn, and spring. The names of the originator of these sonnets remains questionable. Most historians say that Vivaldi created them. This kind of makes sense. The Four Seasons is an exemplar of a typical concerto form. So, a typical concerto consists of three movements: a slow middle movement and contrasting very lively first and third. Each sonnet, in this case each season in the Four Seasons, can be divided into three sections, each corresponding to a moment. It can therefore be classified as programmatic. So what we're trying to say is that Vivaldi was really ahead of his time, by creating programmatic music. Programmatic music we can see in somebody like Berlioz that lived in the 18th century, but that early he truly stands out. Now, the Spring Concerto, what we've been listening to, the first movement, starts with the clarity and crispness of a typical spring day, accompanied by choirs of birds and streams. So when you listen to the full performance, try to remember some of those things, and for your ease, I have also attached the sonnets so you can read about each concerto and listen to that with different ears, because the different times of the movement have different inspirations. So spring is perhaps the brightest. So in the middle of it, as you heard, there is a thunderstorm, and then the birds start singing again. So during the second movement, the one that we're listening to, for example, we have a picture of a goat herd, a shepherd and his faithful dog. So as you hear, the violin goes with a nice line on top, and in the viola section you have this pattern: pom, 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 Okay, that is the kind of the representation of the barking of the dog. Let's listen to the third movement really quickly. This is a nice country dance. Really nice. I will let you listen to all of it without me talking over it. Now I'm gonna go to the summer. So the summer starts kind of slow. You imagine that it's really, really hot outside. It's kind of like, when the air is so hot that when you see in distance, it's kind of like trembles. That's kind of like the idea behind the beginning of that movement. So as the air is almost at standstill, now we get to a bird, a cuckoo, that follows a little bit later. Then birds are chirping away lazily. Now we get to an imminent storm. The most striking part is the third movement, as a hailstorm mercilessly rains down, offering a perfect contrast. So now we're getting to the cuckoo part. Okay, so then we get to the second movement. Very slow, standing still. If you ever have been outside in Houston during the summer, where it's close to 100 or above 100 degrees, that's what it feels like, and you hear a thunder very far. It's coming, right? So, just a little bit, we'll hear the thunder. There is the thunder. And now the striking third movement, the contrast to everything.
Similasan.
Okay, that's a commercial. Here's the hailstorm. Very powerful music. By the way, as you see, I have opened the section right here, and I scroll down, I can have exactly whichever movement I want to start. This is very useful feature of YouTube, by the way. Now let's talk about the autumn a little bit. That comes back a little bit to the clarity of spring, with similar musical themes. The country folk rejoice once the storm has passed and they have done the harvest. It's a little bit more peaceful. The tempo is slowed down significantly, and so there is the second movement. Now we get to the third movement. And the third movement is the hunt. It takes us back to a 14th century Italian genre, caccia. And you You can read in the sonnet what that's about. And the concertos end with winter. Now, the opening movement represents a shivering person, like your, when it's very cold, your teeth clatter sometimes. I know when I see you in orchestra room, that kind of feels like that. And a little bit later, portrays stomping at the feet. Okay, so let's go to the stomping of the feet. Yeah, I missed it a little bit here. Right. No, this is where the teeth are clattering. It's pretty cool. It's very cold. Now we come to the stomping feet part. Okay, now the second movement represents you sitting home and nice and warm. The fireplace is going on. It's still cold outside, but it's getting slightly warmer, and some of those icicles that are outside start, make little drips as you hear the pizzicatos on the background. Okay, and then the final movement when people go outdoors and down icy paths, kind of like sliding, and how you feel a relentless chill. You see, very connected, very different than the other movements. And like the composer's idea of sliding. So anyway, fast forwarding half a century. Now, 4 concertos now can be considered as the single greatest sensation of classical music. So they were popularized in the beginning of the 20th century. So that's why I say half century later. They have been recorded more than hundreds of times by the most eminent violinists. They've been featured in TV commercials and in Hollywood movies, credit cards, billboards, elevators, hotel lobbies, mobile phone ringtones. It's great. So the Vivaldi Four Seasons sits at the very pinnacle of classical music alongside Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Its merit will never be bounded by time. So enjoy listening to the full performance below, and please let me know your thoughts.